This is Aunt Shazy. Have you ever been to a castle built entirely by one man? Well, except for one small piece his father did, and he makes it very clear with a written message on that piece. To understand the castle, you need to first understand the man. James Bishop, aka Jim, was born in 1944 and raised in nearby Pueblo, Colorado. He was a high school dropout with a fierce streak of independence and a profound distrust of government bureaucracy. In 1959, at the age of 15, and yes, you heard that right, 15, Jim bought a 2.5-acre plot of land around the San Isabel National Forest for $450, money he had earned mowing lawns and delivering newspapers. Around this time, his English teacher told him, "You'll never amount to anything." This was when Jim started working as an ornamental ironworker in his father's shop in Pueblo, honing the welding and metalworking skills that would eventually allow him to build his stone fortress with intricate, gravity-defying bridges that are, quite frankly, a little terrifying to cross. In 1969, at the age of 25, Jim and his dad began building a small stone family cottage on the site. As he hauled rocks from the surrounding hillsides, neighbors and passerbys commented that the structure looked like a castle. Jim, never one to do things halfway, took the suggestion literally. He stopped building a cottage and started building a legend. In his own words, he worked from morning till dark. For 50 years, Jim Bishop worked almost entirely alone. He didn't use blueprints, architects, or heavy machinery. Every stone in the castle was moved by hand or with the help of a simple pulley system. So let's talk about some of the key features of the castle you'll see in this video. There's a grand ballroom, a massive space featuring soaring stained glass windows and a floor of hand-laid stone. Many couples have gotten married here. Kinda wish Uncle Robbie and I had gotten married here, but we loved our private wedding in Black Forest, Colorado. If you do get married at the castle, remember it's still open to the public, so you may have some extra guests. The iconic iron bridges. Utilizing his professional background, Jim wrapped the stone towers in elaborate open mesh iron walkways that sway slightly in the wind, offering terrifyingly beautiful views of the valley. The sheer amount of ironwork that you will see while you walk around the castle is mind-blowing. The towers. There are 3 main towers reaching heights of over 160 feet. One led to a dead end, and I'll tell you more about why later in the video. Another one I got halfway up before turning around. And I should mention the elevation for out-of-towners. For those of us that live in Colorado, it's normal, but the elevation is over 9,000 feet. That's over 2,700 meters for our international friends. We've gotten an uptick in British viewers lately, which I love. So, if you're used to the lower elevation, you might get a little winded climbing the towers. And one of the coolest features of the castle is the fire-breathing dragon. One of the castle's most iconic features is a dragon's head made of recycled metal, including stainless steel warming trays from a hospital, that can actually breathe fire via a propane tank and a burner system. I've never actually seen the fire coming out of it, but I read that online somewhere. Anyway, Jim's philosophy is simple. If he had the strength to move a rock and the time to set it, the castle would keep growing. He often stated that the castle was his way of proving that a single man could do something impossible without the help of the state or corporate backing. His son Dan said in an interview that I watched that family trips weren't always fun because his father just wanted to get back to the castle. It's worth mentioning that the construction of the castle was not without friction. Jim refused to pull permits or follow traditional building codes because he viewed them as infringements on his constitutional rights. He spent decades in legal battles with the Custer County government and the U.S. Forest Service. These tensions often manifested in the signage around the castle. Visitors were frequently greeted by hand-painted manifestos decrying corrupt officials and the New World Order. When we visited 20 years ago, the signs were everywhere and quite interesting to read. He definitely came off as ticked off. Now when you visit, there's only a couple of his signs left. But despite his prickly relationship with authority, Jim was famously welcoming to the public. He never charged admission, relying instead on a donation box and a gift shop to fund the ongoing construction. He believed the castle belonged to the people, and he wanted everyone to experience the freedom he felt while building it. The gift shop area has grown significantly since the last time we were there. They have snacks and drinks, pizza, hot chocolate, etc., and more. It's a good way to support the castle by planning on eating while you're there. I spent some time soaking in the Colorado sun at the picnic table while my husband was at the very top. And something that was new since our last visit was the axe throwing area. That was so much fun, and I did better than I thought I would do for my first time axe throwing. Now, for a little bit about the area around the castle. It's located just a few miles from the town of Rye, a small, quiet community that serves as the gateway to the San Isabel National Forest. The drive from Rye to the castle is almost as memorable as the castle itself. Rye was founded in the late 19th century and was originally a ranching and logging hub. One theory on its name is that it's a shortened version of Ouray, named after the famous Ute chief. I talk more about him in my Fort Garland video, so please check that one out after this one. I personally tend to agree with what I read online, that it is named Rye due to the abundance of wild ryegrass in the area. It was originally named Tabletop Mountain, but renamed in 1881. According to Colorado.com, the name was shortened to Rye after the post office complained that Tabletop Mountain was too long. The town serves as a stark contrast to the castle. While Rye represents the settled, organized community of the San Isabel foothills, Bishop's Castle represents the wild, untamed spirit of the mountains themselves. For decades, the local economy has benefited from the castle seekers who pass through Rye to see the stone marl up the road, stopping for supplies or a meal at local staples like the Rye Cafe. Please do stop in, support local. Back to Jim. The story of the castle is also one of profound personal loss. In 1988, Jim's youngest son Roy was killed in a tragic accident at the castle site while moving a large tree. Roy got trapped under a fallen tree's roots while Jim cleared trees nearby. So Jim started building Roy's tower, which he never finished. He put in a stunning glass roof, and Jim's wife Phoebe said it was built to catch his tears. That wasn't the only tragedy at the castle site. In March of 2018, a fire burned down the gift shop, which had a devastating impact on a good source of income. Luckily, the castle was not affected by the fire. 2018 was a horrible year for Jim. He also lost his wife Phoebe after 50 years of marriage when she died of cancer. Phoebe was definitely a big part of the castle too. She spent 8 years filling out paperwork to get the castle listed as a nonprofit, all without hiring a lawyer. As Jim aged, his health began to decline. In the mid-2010s, he was diagnosed with Merkel cell carcinoma, a rare form of skin cancer. During his illness, a dispute over the trust governing the castle led to a highly publicized legal battle between the Bishop family and a former friend who had been appointed as an administrator. The community rallied behind Jim and the family, and eventually they regained full control of the site. After that, they put the castle in their son Dan's name. Jim Bishop passed away on November 21, 2024, at the age of 80 of Parkinson's in hospice. He died where he was born, in Pueblo, Colorado, surrounded by his family. His death marked the end of an era for the one-man construction project that spanned nearly half a century. His son Dan Bishop has taken over as caretaker of the site, ensuring that the castle remains open to the public. He plans to finish his brother's tower by adding another 30 feet. About any other major additions, he said in an interview, quote, "You wouldn't pick up a paintbrush and add to a Picasso. So only time will tell." I just feel lucky enough to have visited over the past 20 years to see the progress Jim was making and to see it one final time after his death. Needless to say, Jim's legacy survives through the 160-foot towers and the intricate ironwork that continues to draw thousands of visitors to the San Isabel National Forest every year. Bishop Castle is a 501(c) nonprofit and is recognized as one of the largest self-built structures in the world. It is absolutely a masterpiece of outsider art, a category for works created by self-taught artists who operate outside the traditional art world. His life was a testament to the idea that a person's reach should exceed their grasp. He didn't just build a house, he built a monument to individual liberty and the sheer power of human persistence. If you ever find yourself in southern Colorado walking across those swaying iron bridges, you can still feel the spirit of a man who decided that a cottage simply wasn't enough. And I need to give a big shout out to Uncle Robbie, whose shadow you can see in some of this footage. He goes with me on all of my adventures, and I couldn't make these videos without him, especially this one. This was my third time visiting the castle, once in 2003, another time with our kids when they were younger in 2015, and this last visit in 2026. The first two visits, I was able to go all the way up the wrought iron staircases to the very top. This time, I got about halfway up and started getting a little dizzy, so Robbie bravely did the rest on his own. I think we take for granted the OSHA regulations that go into buildings today, but this is private property. This castle was built by hand by one talented man, but it's still a little bit too much of a risk for me now that I'm older and not as brave. Especially the one staircase that was missing a step. I was fine going up, but it got me spinning on the way back down. Oh, and the castle is free to visit, Aunt Shazzy's favorite kind of adventure. But they do take donations in person during your visit if you want to, or you can donate online. There are signs on the property telling how you can donate, but there is absolutely no one pushing for money. According to their website, thebishopcastle.com, it's open every day of the year from sunup to sundown, as long as you agree to enter at your own risk and take complete responsibility for your own safety and the safety of your children and your pets. And can I please ask that you keep your dog on a leash? This last visit, I watched two dogs get in a really nasty fight super close to me. The owners did nothing to stop it and seemed unfazed that it even happened. The one dog came right at me, but luckily stopped just short of me and then turned around and went away. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna bite me. But at least the chickens on the property were very well behaved. And, as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more of Aunt Shazzy's and Uncle Robbie's adventures.